of the breakdown of civilization while reading the book, The Lord of the Flies, and I am going to be sharing my thoughts on it with you. So I have 3 points for this presentation. The first is about human nature, the second is about leaders, and the third is about the importance of structure in society. All right, so during this time of COVID-19, many people have been isolated, and so they may feel that they can relate to the suffering of the boys in this novel by William Golding. The Lord of the Flies teaches that separation from society can have a negative effect on humans. Human nature and the consequences of actions that are shown in this book can illuminate the importance of structure in society. So, human nature. Well, ever since the beginning of time, humans have done terrible things. We know that even with young children, they will cry and whine and fight if they don't get what they want. But that's normal because it's just human nature. In this book, the boys change from being innocent children to being bloodthirsty killers. And the stress of being trapped on this island changes them and reveals their human nature. In chapter 5, Simon expresses his opinion on the beast, which is during one of their meetings that they have. And he says, what I mean is, maybe it's only us. And then later in the same paragraph, the author writes, Simon became inarticulate in his effort to express mankind's essential illness. So in this story, Simon is supposed to be sort of an enlightened character, and you're supposed to be able to trust him. So while all the others are being changed by the island, Simon is the one who can explain to them that it's really their human nature coming to the surface. And the author makes this clear by referring to human nature as mankind's essential illness. So my second point about leaders, it's not just about a person who might be leading because he's in charge or he's the chief. Leaders can also be the people that others will follow. And we know that while this book is taking place, it's the world outside the island is in the middle of a war. And on the island, the boys are reflecting the chaos in the rest of the world. It says in chapter 6, but there were other lights in the sky that moved fast, winked, or went out, though not even a faint popping came down from the battle fought at 10 miles height. But a sign came down from the world of grown-ups. And earlier in chapter 1, Piggy had said, not them. Didn't you hear what the pilot said about the atom bomb? They're all dead. Both of these quotes remind us that this story is taking place during World War II. And then at the end, in chapter 12, the officer says, we saw your smoke. What have you been doing? Having a war or something? Ralph nodded. This also tells us that they were going chaotic on the island, which reflected the rest of the world that was in the middle of a war as well. We know that children are dependent on adults, and this book reflects that very well. They follow what the grown-ups will do because someday they will be like them, and they want to be the same. So the adult world was in the middle of a war, and the boys knew about it, and they were taught by it. So once they were forced into independence on the island and had to become adult-like, they did what they were taught, which was dictatorship and war. So another example of power that was going out of control would be when Jack takes charge. And he becomes like a dictator, and he forces the boys to do whatever he tells them to. And it says that Jack said, give me a drink. And Henry brought him a shell, and he drank, watching Piggy and Ralph over the jarred rim. Power lay in the brown swell of his forearms. Authority sat on his shoulder and chattered in his ear like an ape. So the consequences of Jack's actions come later, as the death of Piggy and of Simon. And then even later after that, uh, because of his dictatorship, there is a giant forest fire. And the fire can have two consequences. The one is negative, and that is that they burnt down the whole ecosystem on the island, and they might not have had any more food to eat if they had been stuck there any longer. But the second was a positive consequence, which was that because of all the smoke, they were rescued since a sailor saw them. However, neither of these were Jack's intentions, and it was actually just to hurt Ralph. Which leads to my third point, which is about the importance of structure. So we see how bad things were for them on the island, with their human nature going out of control, and their leaders were not right, and they used to have structure and order. However, once they began to stray away from that, things began to go downhill and get much worse. In chapter 5, Ralph said, or he says, that we decide things, but they don't get done. And earlier in chapter 4, he says, I was chief, and you were going to do what I said. You talk, but you can't even build huts. Then you go off hunting and let out the fire. So once things stop getting done, problems begin to occur. They had rules set in place, and that was the structure that they had in their society, because they knew that that was something that they were going to need. But then once they started to lose that, things went out of control, and this proves how important structure and rules are in a society. So this leads to my conclusion, which is, therefore, misguided leaders and human nature can create problems within a society. That is why the proper structure is so important. The Lord of the Flies shows and proves to us the importance of well-founded society. The society the boys created in the novel became dysfunctional, but since we can read this and understand what went wrong, we can be taught the way that society should be by understanding human nature, choosing the right leaders, and following the laws that are set in place. Thank you.